when Danny is decided he's going to play chicken with like Benedict's goons on a bicycle, and he's just there like cycling along, and this car is coming at him full tilt, and he's like, "Hang on, what if I'm just the comic relief?" And he like swerves off, and then like for some reason there's a ramp, and he flies up and makes the silhouette with the moon, and it's. I think they might have even played like a hint of the E.T. theme while they did it as well.
And then he lands on the house and crashes, and a lady screams. Yeah. It's just such a like. It's just, I guess things like that happen in that movie. Now, so since Slater's basically immortal and doesn't die, does that mean other people in the world are capable of these feats? Because he is. That's not human.
Well, the thing is, the cops who were with him at his second cousin's house, they both died.
Yeah.
So I guess it only applies to the hero.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I guess since he's plucky comic relief, he can pull stuff off like that?
Yeah.
All right. My number 3. If you harm a single hair on her head, wait. Dink! And then,
I love that. That one's so good.
And he pulls the hair from Brigitte Nelson's, Sampras.
Yeah, didn't she marry Pete Sampras?
Yeah, so that always throws me off. Bridget Wilson Sampras, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I always want to say Nielsen, that's from Bridget Nielsen, that's Red Sonja. But yeah, Bridget Wilson Sampras, he pulls hair off of her head, then you hear bing, and then he splits it in half. I mean, that's a good gag, and that makes the villain so much more likable. I love that scene. Just bink, dink. Oh, yeah, that's my number 3. I love that bit.
So the next one is not really a bit, it's more another trope, but the fact that they basically had Oddjob as the like manservant in the villain's house. It's just like, for some reason we have a random Asian butler who looks a lot like Oddjob.
I love that too. It's just a good pull, right? It just feels, I love I always laugh seeing him in here. Now, this isn't one of my two, actually we'll get to that after the scenes. I want to say it's not a bit, but in the Hamlet trailer, which was from the original skit.
Oh, I love that.
To be or not to be.
I would watch Arnold Schwarzenegger's Hamlet.
Not to be. But when he kills, I love when he kills the ninjas in that movie. Because he has a machine gun, and he's just lighting up people who don't have machine guns. And it's just such... I wish the tone of this movie would have been silly on silly, not serious, silly, serious. I love that Hamlet bit. It just cracks me up. So yeah, and he's the original action star, by the way. So yeah, that's my number 2.
So next one I like is Sylvester Stallone as the Terminator.
Oh yeah.
When they go to like the video store, and they've got like a picture perfect cutout like from like the Terminator 2 poster essentially, but with Stallone.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
Like
at the video store.
I wonder, like in the Jack Slater universe, who would have gone on to be like some of Arnold's more interesting roles? Like who would have been Conan? Who would have been? I guess Dolph could have done Conan.
Yeah, I mean he took over He-Man.
Yeah,
they called the sword that Dolph had in Masters of the Universe the Buick Slayer because it was so big, and Dolph was the only one on set who could really like handle a thing. So
that thing is massive.
All right, so now we're at number 1. Am I at my number 1?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I think it's when Bridget Wilson Sampras, or Whitney or Meredith, one of the two, the actress of the daughter, she kicks one of the henchmen in the balls and lifts him off the ground over her bed. So he flies over her bed into the wall, and then she jumps on him, screaming the whole time, and pulls the gun on him. But that kick, I mean, it's not this. Like, so she has that power too. So it must just be the family and Danny who have the power, which is a Masters of the Universe quote. But yeah, I mean, well, what about Bogart Cop or Cop who's frisky? And didn't the Cat Cop get banned for a month because he was?
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, it wasn't. The Cat Cop. It's like, why is there an animated cat there? He's supposed to be here. His suspension's over.
But that's my number 1 because every time I see that, it's just, I guess I guess it makes sense that she is as powerful as Slater because she's his daughter.
Yeah.
And it's another nice thing is you just get tired of women getting kidnapped in movies, becoming the damsel in distress. So it's nice to see the daughter just destroying people. It's a nice trope. You know, I was thinking, this is really random, but I was watching Blade 2, and I've talked about this on the podcast. The main lady on there, I forget her name, but in the beginning, she fights Blade to a standstill. Like, they're evenly matched. And at the end, she just becomes this sort of damsel in distress who doesn't do any more fighting. I never understood that, Niall. I just want to let you know. It's annoying.
I do not recall. I have not watched that movie in many a year.
I love it. It's just I don't like that trope. So I kind of like that she comes back later, like she frees herself and then she comes and saves them from. Oh, I love when Jack Slater parks his car. He just drives across traffic, drives through a lake and up a hill and parks.
Yeah,
I love that scene.
Because
why not?
And then my favorite is that we haven't talked about already is when they go into Jack's apartment and he just shoots the mirror.
Yes.
And he's just like, why'd you do that? It's like, there's a guy in there. It's like, how did you know? It's like, there's always a guy in there. It's just like,
I love it. That's what you want, right? I think that's what makes people like us really hold on to this film, because there are these moments that I just love.
Yeah, like that's brilliant. It's just like, yeah, okay, like the amount of James Bond movies I've seen where there's a dude hiding in the cupboard who like comes out and tries to kill Bond after Bond's had his way with whatever lady he's accompanying.
It's just a little. So I guess for me is, yeah, even though this movie has some tonal mishmashing in there, there's just enough in there, and there's enough oddity to it. Like you watch some action films, right, and they're totally serviceable. The gunfights are good, they're well staged, the characters are okay. You watch it for an hour and a half and you leave, but then you forget about it immediately. But I think where Last Action Hero stands out amongst the rest is the tone is so jarring that it kind of throws you off, and it's a different type of film. But these little gags, the best thing you could say for Last Action Hero is that it has personality. And
yeah, you're always going to get that with Shane Black, right?
Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
And with Carrie Fisher as well. Like she's well known for her script doctoring.
And William Goldman.
Yeah.
So William Goldman. So I was reading through. I mean, there's a lot about this movie. It's just too much. So let's see. Wait, what movie is this? Oh no, I was just reading Joe Dirt notes. I'm like, wait, this isn't my movie. But they said that what did Goldman write? So they said, okay, Hamlet is Penn and Leff. Benedict was a Goldman creation. Mr. Benedict was created by Goldman.
Interesting.
Which is interesting because in the original script, they found out that you have the main villain and then you have the secondary antagonist.
Yeah.
So you have like a Lethal Weapon-esque type thing with I mean, if you think about Last Boy Scout, it's the secondary henchman that's the deadliest. When you think about Lethal Weapon, Mr. Joshua, Die Hard.
Yeah, it's often the case. Like there's like the leader who's like more of a an ideas guy, and then there's like the lead grunt who's actually the guy who's going to put up the hardest fight for the hero.
So you got that.
Where the final battle is more psychological than physical.
Whoa. I have a question. Have you seen John Wick 3?
No.
Oh, never mind then. I don't want to wreck anything. But then also the fat gangster named Leo the Fart was black and are not. But
yeah, I
don't understand the farting in that movie because I get the farting.
It was like that whole sequence, like it was just like one big, like I think they came up with the idea of the set piece and then kind of had to have a cute little name to tie into it. It's like, oh, it'd be cool to drop like a bomb in the La Brea tar pits and have it like be contained.
Yeah.
And then kind of work backwards from there rather than kind of have the guy have any purpose.
But it's inside Leo the Fart. And I love the production design, though, of that scene. It's very red, yellow, very over the top. Like they went for a very stylistic aesthetic in there, and I dig it. I mean, you can really tell how red, blue, yellow it all is. I don't know if you appreciated that production
LA
design.
Does not look like that.
No, it's an interesting look during that gunfight. And also, we haven't touched on this, but I do think Jack Slater's outfit is cool. And so, from what I read. Yeah. They had huge issues with the car. So the kid would drive around, Austin O'Brien, he would drive around in different, like 10 different cars with Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to find the iconic car. The boots were a massive deal. They struggled to find the best boots possible. But at the end of the day, that's good costuming for Jack Slater.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the toy line failed, but that's a easily recognizable character.
Yeah, like, you know, if you look at, you know, all of the most recognizable characters, they have a signature look that is easy to recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the Terminator is like, okay, you're going to have sunglasses, you're going to have a black leather jacket, you're going to have boots, you're going to be carrying a shotgun, you know, it's...
John McClane has a tank top.
Yeah, exactly. You know, instantly you can recognize these characters. You know,
But yeah.
Indiana Jones has the hat, you know, the fedora and the whip.
And I think they did a good job because this is supposed to be a fictional character. This is my first time meeting a fictional character. That was really interesting. But yeah, they I don't know. I like the look of Slater. I think they sort of nailed that. And I liked when he opened his closet. He had all the same pairs of clothes, the same guns.
Just like the entire outfit. It's like, you know, it's like Homer Simpson's closet. It's just like basically you have like 10 pairs of the exact same outfit. That's what you wear.
It's funny that his daughter wore a red shirt and then she also wore jean shorts. So a variation of her
family. You know, those are the family colors. You just wear, like, we wear red in this family. Yeah. It's gang affiliation of the Slaters.
But, and then, you know what's interesting too is there's a $20 million Burger King campaign. There were Last Action Hero video games that I watched some videos on and everyone hates them. But then there was also a platinum selling soundtrack with AC/DC.
AC/DC wrote a song for it. Like, that song, Big Gun, was like explicitly made for this movie.
And it's a good song.
And it's a great song. Like, it is really, really good.
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger dresses up in that video.
Yeah. And
plays the guitar. Have you ever seen the video for that?
Yeah. Yeah, the video is awesome.
I mean,
he's like in the crowd and then kind of...
This was, so 93, this is also around the time when Judgment Night wasn't that popular, but it had a platinum selling soundtrack. Remember, like, Batman Forever? And this...
Oh, I had that soundtrack. That was awesome. That was such a good soundtrack.
I miss those 90s soundtracks, right? I own so many of those. Soundtracks were a big thing.
My favorite one, like, I remember my mum got me like this double album. It was called the Number One Movies album, and it just took like the best like tracks from like a bunch of different soundtracks and had them on like one compilation album.
What?
So you had like stuff from like Batman Forever, from Back to the Future, from like Terminator, from like there were things like Guns N' Roses from Terminator 2. There was like Huey Lewis and the News from Back to the Future. You know, you had all these cool songs on there, and it was great.
I don't know if y'all listen to this, but there's a band I love. I grew up listening to. I still listen to them. I don't care. They're called Newfound Glory. I guess if you had to describe them, they're pop punk.
I remember the name.
But they have 3 albums, From the Screen to Your Stereo, where they do pop punk covers of Power of Love and The Never Ending Story. And they're really good. Like the Titanic song. I listen to it nonstop. I love it. They do This Is Me. What's the Let It Go from Frozen?
So, yeah.
If anybody's ever bored, I would definitely go to Spotify and just check out that album. And so I'm looking at this, right? This is 93. AC/DC, Alice in Chains, Megadeth, Queensryche, Def Leppard, Anthrax, Aerosmith, Alice in Chains again, Cypress Hill, Fishbone, Tesla, and Buckethead. That's
a pretty cool soundtrack.
Yeah, in 93, that's an arena rocker right there. No, but I know they only had a few minutes from each songs, but I mean, it's just such an interesting movie. I think they got the costume right. They had a fun soundtrack. I think they cast it right. The kid's good. There's nothing wrong about Danny.
He's not that annoying. Like, you know, compared to, you know, certain like kid side, like he's a lot less annoying than Short Round, put it that way.
And that kid had a lot to do if you sort of think about it, because he had played by Austin O'Brien Danny. He had to be a little smug because he knew what everyone else wasn't. But then he also had to be a kid, but then he was telling everybody, but then he had to enjoy himself. But then he still had to be a kid. I mean, I think McTiernan did the best job he could do getting what he could out of this kid. I couldn't really fault like Danny. Like the performance there was fine. You know, he did what he could with the role. It was